sound.
Pandemic. On January 9th, 2020, the Chinese state media announced that researchers had identified the pathogen behind the mysterious pneumonia outbreak in Wuhan as the novel coronavirus. 9 years ago, 3 copper miners died in a mine that was infested with bats. Their samples were taken for study at a lab in Wuhan, China. Later in December 2019, a similar pathogen is identified originating from Wuhan. I am Benson Dambiri, and this is the time we talk about the threats to the survival of the humankind. Thank you and welcome.
The survival of the humankind.
This is an occasion to reflect on our world.
Nobody could have foreseen
COVID-19.
COVID-19, having originated from China, spiked a lot of comments from leaders all over the world. USA, being one of the highly hit countries and a known competitor to China, was not left behind. This is what the former president of USA, Donald J. Trump, had to say concerning the pandemic. Let's listen in.
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus.
Being not the first time the denying master is accused of racist charges, he still had something to say. Let's hear this.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China.
In response to these charges, this is what the Chinese government had to say. Let's listen in. In other words, this is what the lady was trying to say.
COVID-19 is a new type of virus that we have never seen before. It takes time to discover, study, and detect. After receiving the first report of 3 or 4 suspected cases in Hubei province on December 27, 2019, the Chinese side carried out epidemiological research on December 29.
From the reaction of the Chinese government, it is evident that they were also not prepared for this plague. To clear these speculations, the World Health Organization will be releasing a report detailed with the origin of this virus. It's also keen to notice that this is not the first pandemic that has ever hit this world. In the 14th century, there was the bubonic plague, popularly known as the Black Death pandemic. The Black Death pandemic had a death toll of 200 million people. That's quite a number, and the incubation time for this pandemic was between 1 day to 1 week. At the same time, this pandemic had 3 variants, and one of the major variants was the bubonic variant. This variant was characterized by flu-like symptoms, and some of the major symptoms were high fevers, fatigue, and a cough that later turned bloody. This highly infective bacteria would reproduce through cell division inside a human body. It's keen to note that this form, the bubonic form, had a mortality rate of 60%. That shows that there were chances of survival if anyone contracted this variant. The second strain was the pneumonic form. The pneumonic form affected the lungs. The symptoms were vomiting and coughing up blood. This made this form very infectious because it was airborne, and this made it to be transmitted highly during the winter season. On top of being highly infectious, life expectancy of a patient was 3 days. That means the mortality rate was between 95 to 100%. That means this was quite a difficult one to deal with. Finally, we have the strain that affected the bloodstream, and this was the deadliest form of this bacteria because it had a 100% mortality rate. 100%, that is, there was 0 chances of survival. Life expectancy was 14.5 hours. That is a maximum of 14.5 hours, and this bacteria would have taken your life. For cases that managed to get to hospital, these are some of the emergency treatment that were carried out. That's the history of the deadly Black Death pandemic. Moving on, let's talk about the current COVID-19.
Thank you for sticking with me. My name is Benson Dambery and welcome back, and let's talk about coronavirus. This is the current threat to human survival. Coronavirus also has variant strains. Variants were expected due to mutation and replication of the virus. However, coronavirus does not have severity like that of the Black Death. And the good thing is a vaccine is already out. Also, the fatality of coronavirus is not as deadly like that of the Black Death plague. The currently identified variants are United Kingdom variant, South African variant and Brazil variant.
The United Kingdom variant has a higher potential for transmission, spreads faster between people but does not have high fatality risks. The South African variant has very high transmission rate too, but its fatality is also low, giving best chance for survival from the virus.
The Brazil variant strain is new and researchers are still learning more about it. Someone will ask, why are these variant strains named with geographical locations? The reason is simply to mark where the strain was identified. From the 3 already identified variants, there are also speculations of another deadly strain in India. Current medical statistics from India show that the country is struggling with a fast-spreading strain of the virus.
So that's why tonight we're drawing your attention to a dire situation in the world's second most populated country, India. New daily cases have now topped 200,000 for a week straight. That's from India's health ministry. The Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, says the wave of cases is hitting like a storm, and it's pushing deaths to an all-time high. Hospitals across India are overwhelmed, many running dangerously low on supplies, including oxygen.
Our prayer is that things will get back to normal and we shall overcome this virus. The big question is, how do we stay on the safe side? Here is Ugandan revolutionalist, popularly known as Bobi Wine, insisting on the best and easiest escape route to surviving this pandemic.
Discipline and personal hygiene, and make sure you regularly wash your hands. Keep a distance from everyone. Report anything like a symptom. Serious fever is a symptom. Dry cough is a symptom. Walkway tamula is a symptom. Itchy eyes and flu is a symptom.
Labira kuyitale abasinga bafudde okuwewala kisingako bujjanjaba. The coronavirus is sweeping over mankind.
Everybody must be alert. It's a global pandemic we can never take for granted.
Omulwadde wa corona temubuzanyisa bange.
Kila mtu must be alert. It's a matter of life we can never.
Thank you for watching. Stay safe, keep sanitizing and be your brother's keeper. My name is Benson Dambery and goodbye for now.